You could say consciousness is a sense gate, the sixth sense gate. It is rather like the other five sense gates in a certain respect. That is, it has the luminous quality. It also has the empty quality. But there's one attribute to the sense gate we call consciousness that is different than the other five sense gates. That is, it has this ability to create what feels like an inversion of consciousness, such that we start to feel like we're inside ourselves, inside this world. And as soon as we feel like that, everything's uncomfortable. As soon as that inversion occurs, that fundamental self-reflection, then nothing is going to be comfortable. It's really kind of tragic in its own right, because it can't do anything to make itself feel better, although it tries all the time. It's always trying to make itself feel better. It's always trying to solve the problem, a problem, any problem, looking for something, looking for a solution, looking for a way out, looking for a way in, looking for the end, looking for peace, looking for freedom, seeking. It always believes in time. It's intertwined with the experience or idea of time. It feels like there's something in time, something later on, that's going to complete me, make me feel better, solve the problem, break the koan, answer the inquiry question. So there's an inherent discomfort in this way of experiencing, this way of thinking. But the funny thing is that the experience of consciousness as such doesn't necessarily have any of these qualities. It's when it becomes inverted or turned in on itself. And what causes that is rather mysterious. And even what breaks that spell is somewhat mysterious, but it can be done. And once the mind is calmed, once reactivity is calmed, and we start to experience some equanimity, natural curiosity, grounding in presence, then we can start to directly investigate the nature of the other five sense fields in real time. And by doing this long enough, by seeing, feeling, hearing clearly enough, or investigating the nature of sound, sensation, forms, colors, and so forth thoroughly enough, we start to realize there's no need to invert. There's no need to go inside. And then we realize there's nowhere to go inside. Now, sometimes we realize there's nowhere to go inside before we realize there's no need to go inside. And that's pretty uncomfortable for a period of time, usually a short period of time. The tendency to try to grab onto a narrative or a timeline or a inner world or a sense of self or something else along the struggle lines. The tendency is still there. The momentum is there. The habit is there. But it's very clear there's nowhere for that to occur anymore. So that can happen as well. This is deep stage realization, essentially, but just know that ultimately the need to invert in consciousness, the need to self-reflect in that way that makes everything feel like struggle, makes everything feel like dualistic, essentially, like a subject and an object, or a self and an others, or now and later, pushing, pulling, inside, outside. All of that turns out to be unnecessary. this is realized, and you let go of suffering like you let go of a balloon that floats away into the sky. Very simply. Turns out there's no need to suffer in that way. There's no need to get into consciousness, the quicksand of consciousness, and invert. Consciousness can be experienced as a simple sense, just like sound or sensation. But the stickiness of it, that quicksand, we've been in it a long time. So you don't tend to come out of it the moment you realize the nature of the quicksand. It tends to take a bit, some discipline, some work, some inquiry, some attention in the senses in an ongoing way. But at some point, it'll stop happening. The tendency to invert, the tendency to go inward in that way will stop happening. And then there's just the empty fullness, the impossibly intimate sound, the impossibly intimate sensation, and the zero distance world of intimacy, freedom, spontaneity, simplicity, innocence, which is your birthright.